Big late line tonight, and we had a bit of a breakthrough this week. We finally managed to steal the key to Tony Jones's dressing room, and Andrew Hansen has managed to sneak in. I don't know if we got a camera there.
Let's have a look. It's an amazing dressing room. Looking at the hot tub, the champagne. He is an absolute rock star, Jones.
Well, we'll try and drag Andrew out of there, but up first, let's get into it with the campaign roundup.
Yes, and this week it was Labor's turn to officially launch their campaign, and it was a pretty low-key affair on the whole.
Very low-key, I thought. In fact, you see, for the national anthem, they couldn't even afford the Qantas Children's Choir, so they had to go with the Jetstar Children's Choir, which is
very cheap and nasty, absolutely. And a lot of the big ALP stars, your Gough Whitlams, your Paul Keatings, they weren't there. But I've got to say, I thought Hawkeye was in very fine form.
He was.
And, geez, he didn't hold back when it came to describing Paul Keating, did he?
The poor white trash of Asia.
And Hawkeye then got to do the honours by introducing Julia Gillard to the stage, which is a lovely moment, I thought, although, as usual, Bob talked one or two extra Hawkeye, you can't stop him.
A little bit far.
The other former leader in the room was, of course, poor old Kevin Rudd, who, just looked like a shadow of his former self. And, look, what a humiliation it must have been to sit through that.
Absolutely, very emasculating. And I've got to say, I thought it was a bit much that Julia Gillard wore Kevin Rudd's balls as a trophy round her neck.
Didn't really...
I mean, that's rubbing it in much. Yeah.
Didn't realise they were that small.
Exactly.
But I think Gillard is obviously still nervous about being knifed one day herself, given how she kept addressing all her colleagues.
Friends.
Now, surely if there's one collective noun that you just can't use at a Labor gathering, it's friends.
Yeah. But look, the main focus of her speech was Tony Abbott. She gave his campaign a real serve.
Mr Abbott has gone round with his slogans. That's all he's talked about.
Now, I don't know about you, but a woman standing in front of a banner that has 26 slogans on it, I thought that was a little bit rich, to be honest.
Yeah.
So just see, she's actually up in the polls. There's a lot of people thinking she might win this.
Well, look, the bookies are backing Labor in, but I've got to say, even if Tony Abbott is not the people's choice in Canberra, he is certainly the people's choice in Rooty Hill.
Oh,
absolute winner.
He
there.
nailed that People's Forum, and gee, a tough crowd too.
It was tough.
People said the audience was stacked, but when you look at who was there, I can't see any evidence for that.
Very
Typical
impartial.
Rooty Hill residents, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Look, elsewhere in the campaign, Julia Gillard spent most of the final week focusing on policy, like Labor's multi-million-dollar commitment to pressing a big red button.
Yeah, sure, but it's a very good button they've got there, actually.
It is,
Now, look,
yeah.
I know Labor doesn't have a great track record when it comes to implementing policy, but this button, there's absolutely no problems with it. Have a look. I press the button and...
Very exciting. Oh, well, of course, Sunday night was, of course, Mark Latham's big journalism debut on Channel 9, which was more or less slammed across the board as a cheap, shallow and unilluminating report, but which still improved the overall quality of 60 Minutes.
I thought so, yeah.
But it's actually Sky News, not Channel 9, who've got the biggest obsession with Latham, to the point where they've introduced, seriously, a special Latham insect box, so they just have a constant live feed of whatever Latham's doing. Even if he's just standing there doing nothing at all.
It's a fantastic service, riveting TV.
it
And
is.
on this show, we decided to go one better. We've introduced a new 24/7 live feed just of Mark Latham's hand.
Yep, there it is
there it is.
Latham's hand cam. Guaranteed to capture the next handshake from hell whenever it happens, so we will be keeping a close eye on that throughout tonight's show.
And look, speaking of TV, all eyes will be fixed on the box this Saturday night as the networks unveil their new computer graphics for election
All
night.
about the graphics.
We love a good 3D
We do.
chamber graphic, and the word is Channel 9's really gone all out this year by outsourcing their 3D graphics to James Cameron. Although his blue people all look a little like
bit,
the You can see the Cameron influence.
But look, I've got to say, Anthony Green, the ABC's election analyst, he is the king when it comes to chamber graphics. Obviously, he's had to update the graphic to take into account the Liberals' leadership change last year. He's got Malcolm's response there. Labor changes as well, he's covered them. Good. And he's actually updated it also to include a Parliament House with Bob Hawke's shagging Blanche.
So, with just 3 sleeps until election day, we're still yet to have really heard any meaningful policy debates. Most of the debate this election's been about whether or not to have a debate.
Yes, and the economic debate basically boils down to Abbott's often repeated line that he will...
make sure that government exercises the same kind of restraint over its spending, which businesses and households have long understood.
Now, look, it's strange you keep saying that, because if you look at the data, households are actually in much more debt than the government.
Which makes sense, because the government's revenue is much larger than its debt, which obviously isn't the case for most households who have a mortgage.
That's right. So if we take, just say, an average homeowner, like, say, this guy, he earns $242,000 a year, but he just took out a $700,000 mortgage. Now, that is a whopping debt.
It is, so we thought we'd better warn Tony Abbott about this big new debt. Tony, I know you worry about debt. We found a big debt problem, a huge debt problem.
Sure.
Look, Tony Abbott, you're in massive debt. You're in much more debt than the government is. Look at this. This is terrible news for you. You keep saying you've got to be as restrained as households.
And I guess, having learnt the lessons myself, we can take the lessons of the country.
This is an economic question. Shall I ask Andrew Robb about this? But look, because you keep saying we should be restrained as households, but they got 6 times more debt than the government, Tony. I know you're not a tech head or an egghead, but which kind of head are you? You should know this before you go into a press conference. Somebody might ask. Do you want $20, mate? Tony, get out of debt. Can you hand this on to him?
You don't need the national broadband network to enjoy fast internet. The Coalition is delivering the network of tomorrow. Just wait a moment for it to load. Nearly there. There you go. You don't need to waste money expensive fibre optic broadband network or anything like that, because the Coalition broadband network for the future of Australia. And it's even faster than dial-up.
حریم د امریکا او برطانیې وحشي ارغل چې تیره شپه یې کړی وو یو تروریستي او ظالم عمل وو د خپل ناروا غرور او د ناروا اغراضو لپاره او د نړۍ غریب مسلمانان هدف ګرځولي دي او خپل ګټې یې د غریبو مسلمانانو په وینو کې لټوي بې معنا بلکې د مسلمانانو په حریم د ټوله اسلامي نړۍ په حریم تیری او د اسلامي نړۍ توهین دی چې د ډیره وخته په مختلفو القابو په مختلفو بهانو او په مختلفو ملکونو باندې د خپل یرغمل لمن وهي.
This week's ALP launch, we barely heard a single word about the issue of climate change, which is very odd, actually, because the world, this is true, just experienced the hottest June of the last 150 years. It was hot, and we were told that by 2 reliable sources. We were told by meteorologists, and we were also told by Zoo magazine.
So, what are our politicians actually doing about climate change? Well, Tony Abbott, he's got a mixed record when it comes to accepting climate change, which is ironic because he seems to feel global warming more than anyone.
Yes, now, Tony Abbott is opposed to a carbon tax, right? He believes a carbon tax would harm the economy, in fact, even worse than his own attempts to harm the economy.
Barnaby Joyce is taking on the role of Shadow Minister for Finance.
Julia Gillard, on the other hand, now she's very consistent. I mean, she's always believed in climate change and always been too gutless to do anything about it.
Yeah, instead, she's proposing to fund sources of energy that can last forever, like Mark Latham's rage.
Now, the centrepiece of Gillard's policy, though, is the Citizens' Assembly, right? It's going to have 150 citizens, none of whom know anything about environment policy, so Peter Garrett can be there if he wants.
It's just all a bit silly, mate, isn't it? I mean, getting citizens' assemblies to replace qualified professionals,
Yeah, I don't know.
And the thing is, it's happening everywhere now. I mean, like, for instance, I went to a piano recital the other night.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, yes.
And I was quite annoyed to find that they'd replaced the pianist with a citizens' assembly. Just a bit crap, to be honest.
Oh, look, bad as your Citizens' Assembly may have been, you can only imagine my surprise last night when I went to my regular rub and tug shop. Citizens' Assembly doing it. Many hands do not necessarily make light work. That's all I can say.
How about that? Although, to be fair, Gillard didn't just make citizens' assemblies up. The whole idea is actually based on a proven model of citizen participation that worked really well in Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol.
Actually, it turns out Citizens on Patrol has another thing in common with the Citizens' Assembly, a 0% approval rating.
Here at Get Up, we're not about taking sides or telling you which way to vote. We're all about active engagement and encouraging an open dialogue to help make you better informed about the real issues this election. So before you make your choice on August 21, log on to getup.org.au for a completely unbiased, objective lowdown on how to vote Labor. Oh, God, I've done it again. Shit, sorry, guys.
Written and authorised by the Australian Labor Party.
Still on advertising, and so far this campaign's been fought pretty cleanly on the whole. Not too much smear.
They've been good.
And I have noticed, though, in this final week, they're just starting to ratchet up the negative ads.
Oh, yes, look, and the best known one of those so far is probably this ad from the Libs, the one with the morphing faces. Now, it's a classic scare campaign, really, linking Gillard to people on the nose like Peter Garrett and, Wayne Swan. But, Chris, look, I don't know if it's working.
Oh, I don't think it is. It's not working. I think the Libs must be getting a bit desperate because I noticed they've just upped the ante with a brand new scare campaign. Now, some people think it's a little bit over the top. Some are saying it smacks of desperation.
I don't know. I think it's a fair comparison, really.
I think they're all natural associations. I did think... I thought that final link was a little below the blow. I mean, that's below the belt.
That's going too far. But look, talking of ads, I mean, I can't believe we're up to our second last show already, and we haven't yet gotten around, Chris, to discussing those very fast voiceover guys. Oh. Those ones you get at the end of the campaign.
These are my favourite people in every election. These guys are brilliant. I think the fast reads they've been doing this campaign too, they've been some of the quickest I've ever heard.
Authorised Dan Martin, ALP Canberra.
Authorised Ben Upman, Liberal Party Canberra.
Authorised by Simon Benson for the Association of Mining and Exploration Companies, Perth, spoken by Ian Tate.
You can't teach that stuff. That is craft.
Yeah,
that's craft.
It is. But despite their exceptional skills, a lot of these voiceover artists find it very hard getting work unless there's an election on. I mean, I know one of these guys recently auditioned for one of those coffee ads with Al Pacino in them.
In the morning, in making a movie, you get up real early. So you need all the help you can get.
Yeah, I mean, this is the ad they ended up running with. It's very stylish and everything, but look, I've got no idea why they ended up casting Al Pacino.
He's wrong, isn't it? I mean, it would have been much better to give it to the very fast voiceover guy. And personally, I thought he did a very persuasive audition.
In the morning, when you're doing a fast voiceover, you wake up incredibly early, so you need all the help you can get. Coffee is essential to my line of work, whether I'm reading the script or just practising saying written and authorised by. Without a coffee, I don't think I could possibly ever speak at this speed. In fact, I've already had 20 cups of coffee this morning, not that I think anybody could ever really tell. This is a good coffee. Spoken by T. Written Canberra.
As we mentioned earlier, of course, election night, what it's really about is the TV coverage, and in particular, new and pointless technology.
Yes, and Australia's really lagging behind the rest of the world. Like, during the last presidential election in America, CNN really upped the ante with a world-first, a live interview cross with a 3D hologram of the musician will.i.am.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, and obviously the ABC can't possibly compete with that sort of technology. The most they can manage this year is an interview between Kerry O'Brien and a 2D image of Kamal.
Yeah, to be fair, though, we actually got that 2D image here,
really?
And it is pretty good. Like, it is pretty lifelike. Can we just have a look at that 2D images? See, it is. It's remarkably lifelike, isn't it?
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. We shouldn't be too down on Australia's efforts, though. The ABC's election graphics over the last few decades have come a long way.
They have. Look at the old days. I mean, they're terrible. But you know what? The only thing that's better than looking back at the changes in the graphics over the years is looking at how Barry Cassidy's changed over the years. This is 90s Barry. I like your 80s Barry a little bit better. Look at this. See, that's good.
Oh, that's good.
And then 70s is just gold. Have a look at that. Not often you see a mo like that outside of Porno.
No.
But no one takes their election graphics more seriously than actually the British.
Yeah.
In England, they've taken it to a whole new level. Sky News, for example, captured, I think, the gravity of the 2010 election with their snakes and ladders analysis.
Now, in Wales, for instance, for the Tories, there are big expectations and pressures on Mr Cameron there. And yet, in Scotland, the Tories may struggle with the SNP.
And Sky's graphics got so full on that one of them wiped out the presenter completely. Look at this. He's there. He's gone. He's gone.
God. But you know, there is only one true Jedi master of election graphic overkill. His name is Jeremy Vine, and for some inexplicable reason, he's actually employed by the BBC. Now, Vine is to the BBC what Anthony Green, the election analyst, is for the ABC.
Yes.
So he's the guy who runs all the BBC's election graphics, and he is absolutely amazing. Like, you know how Anthony Green's put a little bit of a swoop on his chamber graphic? Have a look at that nice swoop,
that's
like
stylish,
that.
that's good.
Okay. Remember that when you see Vine's chamber. It is amazing. Look at the swoop on this.
Jeremy, come down if you can through the sky and land on Whitehall and turn left and look for the House of Parliament here. Where is St Stephen's Gate? Hang on. Yep, got it. In we go. Through to Central Lobby, go left to the Commons, of course, down through the Reporters' Lobby and in through the doors and... Hello.
The election was virtually over by the time they actually reached the chamber.
No, but look, to be honest, Vine is actually more comfortable relating to election graphics than he is relating to other human beings. And he doesn't just analyse voting stats, he also fancies himself as a bit of an actor.
See here, Danbull, this here is a shootout saloon. I'm looking for a politician to try my shooting skills on. 29%, that's what you got in the local elections. 23%. And we should just add that, of course, the Lib Dems go down for the general elections. Let's see how you do, Cleggy. Boy, you get a vote like that, you'll be popular with the townswomen here.
But look, to be honest, that's actually quite restrained for Vine. Here he is in the 2007 elections, analysing the voting trends of the Liberal Democrats and their then leader, Sir Menzies Campbell.
I'm going to stand back to see what happens to Ming Campbell if the vote goes up.
Yo, Lib Dem Ming with the Lib Dem.
He started to rap.
Yo, Lib Dem Ming.
I don't know if I could do this dance.
Yo, Ming with the blade.
I will not be satisfied unless I see Anthony Green rapping on Saturday night. You know you want to, Anthony.
Although I got to say, Anthony, let Jeremy Vine being a warning to you, because sadly, Jeremy Vine's election graphics have actually, over the years, they've driven him insane. So much so that the BBC now actually keeps him permanently imprisoned in a massive swingometer.
Oh, poor man.
And in fact, I think what they should really do is drag him off to a graphical 3D lunatic asylum.
Yo, ilimrong balang alikiru pegoro pol nako kabateo kawuri pumalangaw.
Yo bilang me yol ngaw rom kayol ngaw jalkere.
Yo markali bitu ngai tamula na malawal to bun bulim ring grupan ngai to kawal nga malangula na girip malangura. Ya ko wok boy to king of Mykonos.
Ya kamindarwa nakon mata jumoko daramo. Malam itu kan ngetam, walang jamar kuliah walang kuliah ngakau.
Pilih ngai pilih kawan yang wanga nik kinopolis na arbang pun.
Now, we've seen a lot of innovations in news coverage this election, and I've got to say, it's making things very interesting.
I mean, the news is very entertaining. I mean, this election, a lot of reporters have started spicing up their stories by getting in the thick of the action, like this reporter here, you know, timing his report so that Tony Abbott's actually walking alongside him.
But only Mark Riley does his pieces to camera while standing in the door of a police car as they're trying to arrest someone.
It's not quite the conversation Julia Gillard had in mind, but an indication that on the issue of climate change...
Please take action on climate change. Why am I the criminal?
The discussion is often heated.
Now that is entertaining news.
Oh, yeah, there's no limit to where Mark Riley will do a piece to camera.
Even when the PM herself was sharing a private moment with her partner, Riley was there filing a report.
Well, I think Julia Gillard believes that with the controversies over the leaks and Kevin Rudd's treatment now behind her for the moment...
Look, he's trying hard, Riley. He's trying hard, but let's face it, this election is not exactly a blockbuster event, is it?
Not a it isn't a blockbuster. Well, you obviously haven't seen Channel 9's new promo.
The biggest drama of the year.
We are TV stars.
2 contenders. One final battle starring Carl and Lisa. Tracy Grimshaw. Peter Overton. Michael Usher.
Hang on. Michael Usher is a big star? This election is about Michael Usher?
Yes, I think on the Star Meter they've got Michael Usher confused with this Usher.
Yes, when in fact he's actually a bit more like this Usher.
Look, Michael Usher's star status aside, 9 have livened up election coverage, and without losing a shred of credibility, as they demonstrated with this expert analysis.
We asked body language expert Steve Van Apperen to take a closer look.
A barrier gesture there by Gillard, hands across the chest. Still no rapport between the two of them at all.
So Kevin Rudd and Gillard don't like each other. Before Channel 9 called him the body language guy, I thought they were the best of friends.
Hey, don't knock body language experts, Chaz. Don't knock them, because, in fact, I hired one myself to analyse that guy, and he was spot on.
Now, you can see by the hand gesture he did there that he is shithouse. And he'll probably even be rejected by Today Tonight.
Look, those body language guys, they're entertaining, I admit it, but if you want some excellent TV, you need one-on-one interviews. Now, we're talking the big hitters and the big issues. Like, for instance, getting the Prime Minister herself on your show on the very day that she sealed the mining tax deal.
I mean, there were so many questions you could ask the PM, what about the miners who weren't part of the deal? What does the deal mean for the economy?
They're all good questions, and none of them were asked by Georgie Gardner. She only asked 3 questions, and here are all 3 of them in full.
Thanks for joining us, Prime Minister. With the agreement on the mining tax now in place, are you now ready to call an August election? Hunters have made August 28th the favourite date, are they right? Well, look, but are you ruling out August? Because if it's not August, it's October, and the honeymoon might be over, Julia. Look, we appreciate you giving us some of your time tonight, Prime Minister. Thank you.
Well, sums up the mining tax.
Look, the bosses at 9 were thrilled with that interview, though. They loved it, because they realised they no longer have to pay Georgie Gardner's wage. And I think her replacement's doing just as good a job.
Are you now ready to call an August election? Are you now ready to call an August election?
Better, I think. But look, to be fair, why would you cover a piddling mining tax deal? It's boring.
Oh, yeah, look, there's heaps of nothing stories like that during elections, Andrew. You just got to ignore them all. Like, for instance, Tony Abbott's tiny little $1.5 billion for mental health.
Oh, who cares about that?
No one cares about it, especially 9 News. They have news values. So that's why on the day the mental health policy was announced, the 6 o'clock news didn't mention it once.
Well, of course they didn't. They were busy covering the big Tony Abbott story of that day.
Election fever is clearly burning.
Really has a smell to it, doesn't it?
The opposition leader's infamous budgie smugglers sacrificed in a radio stunt as the waiting game continues.
An earth-shattering event.
Now that is a game changer right there.
Such a big story, in fact, that it forced Channel 9 to change their promo to acknowledge it.
The biggest drama of the year, a major Australian event.
Election fever is clearly burning.
Starring body language bizarros, overblown promos, and Usher, the worst interviewer in Australia. And
budgie smugglers.
Election 2010 on 9.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But he is sleeping with me because he's gay like me. And we can't get married. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man can't marry. What's in your hand? Back to me. I have it. It's a wedding ring from that guy I love. Look again. The ring has now been taken away by both major parties to pander to conservatives. Anything is possible if you're gay, except getting married. I'm on a high horse.
Andrew, one of the other things we've noticed when you cover a prime ministerial race is just how prestigious, in fact, just how presidential almost, the office of Prime Minister has now become in Australia.
It has. I mean, our PM, you know, serious world player, the Aussie PM, major head of state.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is actually reflected when you compare the various home residences where world leaders live. I mean, here's the magnificent Kremlin in Russia.
Yes, the White House in Washington, D.C., of course.
Here in a quiet suburban street in Melbourne, it's the Australian Prime Minister's house. Says world leader to me.
Not so much the White House as the Brown House.
Yes, but you can't keep the tourists away, can you?
It's a tourist mecca. I mean, everyone loves going to the Brown House. I even went and got one of these Brown House snow domes when I was down there.
You're lucky.
I know Jules went, and you should do what he did. You can get your photo taken in front of the Brown House, and that is hours of guaranteed fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the other thing about the election, of course, that Oh, sorry, that's the 5 minutes till late line, everyone. 5 minutes till late line. 5 minutes. We've got to wrap this up. Are you ready for Tony Jones? I said, are you ready for Tony Jones? Tony. Here he is. Tony Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to
We've actually come up with a new idea to try and give you a bit of a bigger response. We thought we'd actually go out tonight with a bit of a rousing song. What do you think, folks? Shall we have a song? Yeah. All right, then, well, you sit down, Tony. You can grab a seat. And remember, we will be back next Wednesday at the new time of 9:30 with our election wrap-up episode. Now, remember to vote this Saturday, and if you're still a bit undecided about, which candidate to support, here's a little song to help you make a more informed decision this polling day. Good night.
And so we face election day, each leader takes their stand. The question is to vote which way, the future's in our hands. We may ponder on their policies before we hit the booth. Trace through each party's history, discern the hidden truth. Who should we write as number one? Which candidate should lose? There's only one clear answer when it comes time to choose.
They're all fucked. They're all fucked. Every single one is fucked. There's nobody to vote for because they're all just fucked. One's a Langer born in Wales, one's a backward sexist male. And you never vote for Greens because all they do is fondle whales. Let's face it, every candidate is fucked. You've no voice, there's no choice, every single one is fucked.
Ignore Anthony Green statistics, everyone is fucked.
One stab you in the back, one's a Bible bashing hack. You might as well just want that fucking ballad on your crack.
Let's face it, every candidate is fucked. The major sucker line is fucked, every single one is fucked.
The future's fucked, the world is fucked, all of us are fucked. I don't want to fuck your hope, but reach for a fucking rope. You're probably even more fucked than those refugees on votes.
Let's face it, every candidate is fucked.
This one's fucked, and 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 this one's fucked.
Hold on. I'm not anymore.
Yes, you are.